This is the story of the ACF Brill deck and a half Continental. The model number was ICO-X, Continental Bus Service of Dallas, Texas, which later became Continental Trailways, but at that time was just Continental Bus Service. In 1948, they ordered this bus from ACF Brill. It took a few months to put it together. In the spring, they had a grand opening at the convention center in Philadelphia. The president of Brill, Charles Pirelli, rented the basement for the newspapers to come. M.E. Moore of Continental Bus Service, he was the president, showed up for the opening with a team of drivers and mechanics. They were going to take it back to Texas, test it all out. If they liked it, they would order 450 of these buses. It had a snack bar, a radio, a restroom, air conditioning, lots of baggage space underneath. Had 14 seats in the lower area, 21 in the upper area. When they first got it, it had a Rolls-Royce engine. And the model on the engine was a 495. Hall Scott never made a 495 engine. Rolls-Royce did. It was a diesel 4-cylinder, had a 5 1/8 inch bore and a 6-inch stroke. They bought 4 IC41s at the same time, and they also had this special Rolls-Royce engine. This one right here was number 3 of the group. If you find a builder's plate for an IC41 that has a 495 on the plate, then that's going to mean it was one of those original 4 from Texas. I talked to Mr. Crawford at Crawford's junkyard up in State College, Pennsylvania, in the early 70s, and he was very interested in building up buses into motorhomes, and he knew of a man in Quebec, Sherbrooke, Quebec, who had an ACF Brill IC41 with a Rolls-Royce engine in it. I wrote to him. I never did hear anything back. Would have been interesting to see, what the story was on it. If it was one of these original 4, or if it was a Canadian car Brill that somebody had put the Rolls-Royce engine into. Continental ran it for a while, but they did not order any more. Only one was built. It only had a single rear axle and a lot of weight, an extra axle and suspension like the Greyhound Scenic Cruiser would have given it more braking and more stability. Over the years, I managed to find a blotter about the deck and a half. Interesting piece. I think it was an eBay find. I can't remember now. In the middle 60s, Bill Powelson of Gloucester City, New Jersey, bought it and ran it for a while. He liked ACF Brill equipment, and he was very proud of it. The company got in some trouble in the early 70s, 1970, and they ended up trying to sell some buses to get some money for it. Incidentally, as far as the engine went, Bill Powelson's grandson wrote in a comment on my previous deck-and-a-half video and mentioned that the engine was a Hall Scott engine and it blew up when they were trying to bring it up to Philadelphia in Arkansas. So what I suspect happened was that the Rolls-Royce engine proved unsatisfactory in some way, or they got tired of waiting for parts from England. But a Hall Scott would be a natural. All the parts were available and the mechanics knew how to work on it. So that would have made sense, and I appreciate that comment. So it was sold to a man named Harris who lived in Havre de Grace, Maryland, and he bought the deck and a half and 3 other IC41s. He had them all painted up the same color, and they were very nice. They were very good shape. All of them were in very nice shape. He had a nightclub, and he decided to make some extra money running bus excursions to Reading, Pennsylvania, and the shore and other places where people would want to go. Like I say, they were in nice condition, and he had them all painted the same color scheme. And I went down to see it and took pictures, and that's how I made the first video on this. Now, I wrote to him maybe a year or two later, and he said he no longer had it. He sold it to somebody in Havre de Grace, Maryland area who was going to make a camper out of it. And I lost sight of it. Then when I put my video on YouTube, Dave Milhauser commented on it that he had seen it off of I-95 back around 1980. He wasn't sure, it was a long time ago, but it was in a junkyard. He could see it from the highway. And that was the, that was interesting to hear that. So it was there. Then somebody a few years ago had mailed me some Brill literature, and this showed up in the stuff he sent me. It was a National Bus Trader, July 1978. Had a picture of the deck and a half, and it says below, the one-of-a-kind deck and a half ACF Brill of 1952, the year's wrong. Reportedly, it originally operated for the Trailways and for a time was in the fleet of Bill Powelson, who had a liking for Brill products. It is presently owned by an individual in Kansas and offered for sale in this issue. Anyone interested in owning a one-of-a-kind? Now, it did survive till 1978. And if anybody knows of this after being in Kansas at that time period, put a comment in. It would be very interesting to hear if it survived beyond that.